Okay, we got it. So, Joe, I want to thank you for that music you selected this morning. I feel like I was being completely held by sort of a very compassionate presence, which is something I think we all need right now. Um, it's been a tough couple of weeks uh, with the Supreme Court decisions and the hysteria over the debate. And then if you add on top of that all the suffering that we're aware of going on in the world today, it it's just made for a tough couple of weeks. And when Joe asked me what I wanted the screensaver to be this morning, I told him I wanted it to be the same screensaver he used last time, because really this talk is about our practice. And, I've just been kind of grasping for some guidance over the last couple of weeks, something to calm me down a little bit. And I got some really helpful tips this week. And so that's what I want to share with you this morning. And we're going to start out with a passage from Thich Nhat Hanh's little book, How to Connect. This was the first thing that came my way Tuesday morning when I opened this book up, and it's called Returning to Your Hermitage. And you might want to just close your eyes during this part, just so that you can let this settle into your cells and maybe get a visual image of what he's talking about. One sunny morning following a rainstorm, I decided to spend the day in the woods near my hermitage. Before setting out, I opened all the doors and windows so the sun could dry things out. But in the afternoon, the weather changed. The wind blew and dark clouds gathered. Remembering I had left everything open, I returned home right away. When I arrived, my hermitage was in a terrible condition. It was cold and dark inside, and my papers were scattered all over the floor. First, I closed all the windows and doors. Then I lit a lamp and made a fire in the fireplace. And finally, I picked up the papers from the floor, put them on the table, and weighted them down with a stone. Now there was light and warmth. I sat by the fire and listened to the wind. I was aware of my in breath and out breath, and I felt very content. There are moments in our daily life when we feel miserable, empty, and cold, and it seems everything is going wrong. We think, this is not my day. That's exactly how my hermitage was that day. The best thing to do at such times is to go back to yourself, to your island within, to your hermitage. Close the windows and doors, light a lamp, and make a fire. This means you have to come to a stop and are no longer busy running around, thinking or talking. You've gone back to yourself, back to your hermitage, and become one with your breathing. So I'm just going to pause there and let that settle for a minute or two with silence. The second piece of guidance that came my way this week was from a book that Joe has recommended to us called The Grace in Aging. And I'm only about maybe not even a third of the way through this book. And even though it says The Grace in Aging, there's a lot of good tips in there, no matter what age you are. And my meditation practice has been noisy the last couple of weeks. And it's often noisy. I mean, sometimes I wonder if I'm making any progress at all, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there was a short passage in this book by Kathleen Dowling Singh that really spoke to me. And I'm going to read it to you. She says, we need a practice for looking at our minds. A robust practice enables us to increase our ability to observe the nitty-gritty of our experience of life, replete with every fabrication and drama and obstruction and reactivity and snag. That sounds like my practice lately. One aspect of this gift of human life is that we all have awareness. Awareness simply witnesses. Awareness neither wants nor wants not. It has no investment. There is no suffering in witnessing. Awareness is peacefully, simply present, always available to abide in. Over time, we can change the locus of identifying from the contents of awareness to awareness itself. So she's saying, we often focus on the contents of our awareness. But what she's asking us to learn to practice is just being aware of awareness. And she says, over time, we will develop a capacity to remain in equanimity in the face of whatever arises. So I find this to be quite a tall order. And I had an experience this week where I got to practice this, and it was tough. I'm on the board of our homeowners association, and I received an email this week from an irate homeowner over something that I did, and this went on for like 4 paragraphs, raking the board and raking me over the coals. And I had just read this passage from her, and so I spent time simply looking at all of the repetitive thoughts that were going through my head to defend myself, of course, about what I had done. I could not let go of defending myself for weeks. Couple of days, even though I kept going back and reading this and thinking about it. It wasn't really until I was able to expand beyond my own narrow way of looking at the situation to include how they might be looking at the situation that I was able to simply sit with what happened and try to practice simply witnessing, having no investment, sitting peacefully in the present moment. Huh, huh. So, I just offering that to you as well. And then the third thing that came my way this week was embedded in a podcast that I like to listen to called The Way Out is In. And it is a podcast that is produced by Plum Village, which is the center that Thich Nhat Hanh started. And one of the nuns, whose name is Sister True Dedication, was asked what engaged Buddhism meant to her, because in the sometime during the Vietnam War, Thich Nhat Hanh coined this term, engaged Buddhism. And here's what she had to say about what she thinks engaged Buddhism means. And it ties back to the first two things that I shared, the passage from Thich Nhat Hanh and the passage from The Grace in Aging. She said to her, it means engaging in a deep transformation of consciousness in our own hearts. A lot of people thought that engaged Buddhism meant taking the Buddhist teachings out into the world. And so anyway, her take on it is a little bit different, and it ties into the other two things I shared. So I'll start again. She said to her, it means engaging in deep transformation of consciousness in our own hearts, learning to live with people from different cultures, to make space for people with different views and different backgrounds. She said it's a kind of visceral, physical, hourly, daily commitment to compassion, to mindfulness, and to inclusiveness, to fostering peace in the everyday fields of action. So part of it is taking it out into the world with the people that we interact with every day. But I was struck by her first saying, we have to try to embody and to bring this to happen inside ourselves first, before we can take it anywhere else in the world. And then this quote from Thomas Merton also bubbled back up into my consciousness, because sometimes when you're sitting on your cushion every day and your mind is wandering all over the place, you're like, is this doing any good whatsoever? Not making any progress whatsoever. And I'm sure Joe has shared this quote before, but I printed this off many years ago, and I go back to it all the time. And the quote is, when you are doing the sort of work you have taken on, you may have to face the fact that your work will be apparently worthless and even achieve no worth at all, if not perhaps results opposite of what you expect. As you get used to this idea, you will start more and more to concentrate not on results, but on the ultimate value, the rightness, and the truth of the work itself. And when I read this quote, it just helps me to let go of, whatever worries or concerns or thoughts that I have, not only about my meditation practice, but about a lot of other concerns that I have. And then lastly, I wasn't expecting to share this because I didn't even know about it, but here's a little bit of encouragement for us all, because I think we need some encouragement. At the end of this, The Way Out is In podcast, This is what Sister True Dedication shared. She said that last year, 6,000 people came to Plum Village during the summer, either for a 1 week training, a 2 week training, or a 3 month training. She said to practice the art of living peace, touching peace in their breathing, their walking, their eating, their listening, and their speaking to each other. That is a lot of engagement, a lot of action rippling out into the world of a different way of seeing and being that has been felt in people's bodies through their practice at Plum Village. She said it's not just words on a page. It's not just a petition they signed or some kind of statement they made. Thousands of people have experienced this kind of transformation, and they added up over the years that they've been doing these summer retreats. More than 400,000 people have participated in these retreats. And in a ceremony, they have committed to practicing the 5 mindfulness trainings, not just read them on a page, but they've committed to bringing them into their lives. So I found that quite heartening to think that 400,000 people, those are only the people that have actually gone to Plum Village. Then there's all the people like us whom we may never get to Plum Village, but here we are in our little Sangha that Joe built, and we are doing our part to practice and to try to let, the practice somehow transform us so that it ripples out to the people in our lives by our thoughts and our actions. So, with that, let us go into silence and just let all of this settle in whatever way it does.